Judy, go get Vince. Go get Judy, get Viv, are you ready? You go now? Yeah, I'm just going to call names. Kathy Ryan and Shelley Barter's pinning her. Go. Donna Beals and Patty Wiseman. Patty Wiseman and Donna Beals. Right there, Pat. Forget it. Look at it. Karen Bennett. And Karen Bennett. Shirley Brooks. That's Shirley Brooks. Yeah. Rhonda Kerfont and Shirley Burke. Shirley. Nani on Jeannie Blanchard. Nani on Jeannie Blanchard. Nani Young and Jeannie Blanchard. Lola Head and Deidre Bolas. Where'd you go? Wayne Gillett, Dale Wiles. X-Wayne. Right there. Give him a kiss, Dale. Go for it, Dale. Bill Hurley and Debbie Caines. Is Mary Bannister here yet? pressure. Sharon Blunden and Brenda Chalk.
It's Big Mickey's dog.
Rhoda Andrews and Jane Chalk.
Diane Hanlon, call it lady. Do you want to hear it? Call it here? Where is Diane Hanlon? This one, Bill.
Connie Smith and Lisa Clark.
You take a picture of me and Marie? No, me and Marie.
Joanne Orm and Jennifer Davis. Pearl Grant and Diane Fudge. Gail Roberts, Nick Gagnon.
Judith, tell June she's next.
Mary Baird and Judy Gale.
Sherry Gallion. Yes, she is.
Lorna Goodyear and Sherry Galliot.
I get serviettes in there. Some serviettes.
Sheila Wall and Heather Gill.
Look good at the camera, Sheila.
Karen Purchase and Ann Hayes.
May Reardon and Richard Hemian. Jim Kern and Kim Hewlin. Jennifer Downey and Shelley Hurley.
I don't think she's going to. She had asked me to pick up the kids for her and it was too cold.
Sandra Reed and Sharon Huckster. Marlene Drover and Sharon James.
I know.
Don't fall, Marlene.
Marie Johnson.
Gail Butler, Marie Johnson. Diane Henley and Laura Murley. Janet Doyle and Heather Longman. Michelle Young and Laura Murley. Bernice Doyle and Bev Anthony. Mary Rex and Kathy Murphy.
Yay, Kathy.
Pat Hayden and Maureen Noseworthy. Kathy Elms and Peggy O'Brien. Patty Clone and Bernadine O'Gorman. Doris Butler and Pat Purdy.
Oh, Jennifer Downey's there too.
Jennifer Downey and Shelley Hurley. It's toys for you, Jennifer. Glenda Thorne and Pauline Parsons. Elizabeth Lee and Cindy Patey. Karen Bennett's going to pin her.
It's just like initiation, like, oh, you're in daddy, they're up there.
What do you want to do it today? We won't have him
Cabell Weed and Rhonda Pelly.
Mary's here. Jack and Chris Pike.
Joanne Cole and Christine Pike.
Right there.
Turn around.
Watch him do like her tonight.
Joy Burns and Pam Roberts. Glenda Harvey and Paula Scott.
You're on camera.
Lisa McNeil and Tracy Scott. All right, okay. Janet Thorne and Shelley Hurley. Madonna Sexton and Nadine Sims. Sherry Hounsell and Jeanette Tremblett. Daphne Pelly and Kevin White. Rosemary Brown and Tara Whitten. Sharon Wheeler and Mary Ann Bannister.
Give her hugs, my
Marie Joseph.
Barbara Wiseman.
You do Kim Parsons, right?
Kim Parsons and Bev Anthony. Maureen Fitzpatrick and Tracy Scott. She's
And Alfred Kathy. You're gonna cut the cake. You can do it. You sure you won't get that cut? She doesn't. Guess what?
Elfrida Castle and Jane Chuck.
Gail and Lola.
Lisa McNeil and Tracy Scott. Is Lisa here yet? Would Wilf here?
No.
Would Gail and Lola cut the cake, please? Gail and Lola.
They aren't? Where's the cereal?
Wilf saw to get his pen yet. There's one more. No, one more. Wilf Sullivan and Kevin White.
Kevin.
Right there in the expo. Shame.
You tell.
the conferring of the diplomas and the presentation of pins, I'd like to call upon Miss Annette Jenny, the Acting Director of the School of Nursing, Mrs. Shirley Call, the Assistant Director, Mrs. Dorothy Andrews, Acting Assistant Director, and Mrs. Marie Louise Luther, Instructor at the school.
Marlene Louise Locke Drover. Susan Kyra Ball, Deer Lake. Fred Henley, Stephenville Crossing. Catherine Elms, Port Basque. Sharon Elaine Wheeler, Frenchman's Cove, Bay of Islands. Wilfred Sullivan, Placentia. Elizabeth Mywall Lee, Corner Brook. Elizabeth Cavell Wheaton, Fredericton, Notre Dame Bay. Jennifer Marie Downey, Stephenville Crossing. Thelma Elizabeth Howell Blanchard, Corner Brook. Joy Bennett, St. Paul's. Lola Christine Head, Carmenville, Notre Dame Bay. Mary Elizabeth Baird Gander. Donna Rose Sexton Goose Cove. Rhonda Ann Kerfont, Cape St. George. Connie Zanya Smith, Springdale. Pearl Colburn Grant, Steadybrook. Beverly Gail Roberts, Corner Brook. Kathleen Wanda Sims, Corner Brook. Lorna Janet Goodyear, Corner Brook. Sharon Ann Blunden, Corner Brook. Joy Companion Burns, Johns Beach, Bay of Islands. Patricia Ann Cologne, St. George's. May Laura Reardon, Goose Cove. Doris James Butler, Corner Brook. Elfrida Randall Cassell, Steadybrook. Shirley Patricia Wiseman, York Harbor, Bay of Islands. Janet Tulk Thorne, Corner Brook. Rosemary Cooper Brown, Pasadena. Rhoda Keynes Andrews, Corner Brook. Janice Steele, Sydney Mines, Cape Breton. Mary Faye Terry, Irishtown, Bay of Islands. Janet Mary Doyle, Corner Brook. Kim Marie Parsons, Corner Brook. Marie Joseph, Corner Brook. Bernice Ann Doyle, Corner Brook. Patricia Lynn Hayden, Corner Brook. Nina Angela Young, Deer Lake. Sheila Anne Marie Wall, Grand Falls. Sandra Cunning Reed, Corner Brook. Stephanie Lodge Pelly, Deer Lake. Joanne Lillian Oram, Corner Brook. Glenda Darlene Harvey, Port aux Basques. Sherry Colleen Hounsel, Corner Brook. Karen Wanda Purchase, Hawke's Bay. Glenda Eileen Bradbury Thorne, Corner Brook. Mary Patricia Power Rex, Corner Brook. Catherine Margaret Ryan, Corner Brook. Cornelius Joseph Rubia, St. Jude's. Wayne John Gillett, Corner Brook. Charles Andrew Ash, Carboneer. James Patrick Curran, Windsor. Catherine Lisa McNeil, Corner Brook. Joan Young, Mount Moriah. Lana Janice Goodyear, Corner Brook. Joanne Cole, Corner Brook. Philomena Hurley, Corner Brook. Gail Hewlett Butler, Corner Brook. Maureen Fitzpatrick, Corner Brook. I did neglect to say that Marlene Louise Loch-Drover is from Buckens. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, may I present the graduates of 1986.
Thank you, Mrs. Denny. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Elaine Vardy, the Director of Patient Care and Education, who will announce the awarding of prizes. She will be assisted by Mrs. Luther. Elaine.
And now it's my pleasure to present the prizes, the first of which is the gold medal. The gold medal is awarded each year to the graduate who has achieved the highest academic standing throughout her program, or his program. It is donated by our board of directors and presented tonight by Mr. Dean Fisher, who is the chairperson of our Nursing Education Advisory Board, to Gail Butler. Gail, could we ask you to stay for a minute, please? The next award also goes to Gail, and it's for general proficiency. Since your applause didn't allow me to say that earlier, that award is given to the student who has shown outstanding clinical achievement and was given to Gail, or presented to Gail, by the president of our medical staff, Dr. Ron Hutchinson, and it was also donated by the medical staff of our hospital. The next 4 awards are given to graduates who have shown clinical expertise at all times throughout their training period. The first award is donated by the medical staff again of our hospital and is presented by Dr. Hutchinson to Glenda Thorne. The next prize is donated by the Association of Registered Nurses of Newfoundland and is presented by Mrs. Violet Bell to Charles Ash. The next is donated by the Corner Brook chapter of the Association of Registered Nurses of Newfoundland and is again presented by Mrs. Bell to May Reardon. The next is donated by our hospital's Board of Directors in memory of Dr. T.T. Monahan and is presented by Mrs. Shirley Cull to Gail Roberts. The next and last prize is for extracurricular. The prize winner for the next prize is chosen by the graduating class and is given to the classmate who has unselfishly given her time and efforts for class activities. It is donated by our hospital's auxiliary and is presented by Mrs. Mary Spencer to Lola Head.
Thank you, Mrs. Vardy. At this time, I'd like to call upon the hospital administrator, Dr. Harry Watts, for the presentation of scholarships. Dr. Watts.
Just before I announce the scholarship winners, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the graduates on behalf of the administration and my own personal thanks. We get to see them around a lot in 2.5 years, and we hope we'll see them around a lot. We're very proud of them. It's my pleasure tonight to award the Margaret Powell Scholarships for this year. These scholarships were established in memory of Margaret Powell, who was a nurse on our staff prior to her tragic death. There are 2 scholarships, and they are given to members of our graduating class who are going to go on for further studies. I'm very pleased tonight to announce that our winners are Miss Marie Joseph and Miss Maureen Fitzpatrick. Congratulations to them both.
Thank you, Dr. Watts. In your programs, there was a honors list, and as you know, this list is the list of students who have attained an average of 80% or higher during their 2 years or 2.5 years in school. So I'd like you to join with me in congratulating these students. At this point, I think the class would like to make some special presentations. Thank you. Before we continue, I'd just like to read some letters of congratulations. This one is from the staff at the Burgeo Hospital. So the graduating class of '86, congratulations and best wishes on your graduation. May you find happiness and fulfillment in your chosen career. And this is from Bev Banks and Liz Parker at St. Anthony. To the graduating class of 1986, congratulations and best wishes. And this one is from all the Newfie nurses in Alberta. Val Holloway. Congratulations and best wishes to the class of 1986 from the class of 1985. This time I'd like to call upon the class valedictorian, Miss Lola Head, to present the valedictory address. Miss Head.
I was sort of asked a little while ago to extend my speech a little bit because of the absence of our guest speaker, but I chose not to. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of my fellow graduates, I welcome each and all of you to this, our graduation ceremony. Memories of those special times, we worked, we laughed, we shared. They mean so much to me. And though the clouds may come, we'll keep reaching for the sun, because we have those memories of friendship, you and me. These are the lyrics to a song written by Dean Boland. As I stand here tonight and look at the special group of people, I realize that what we have so precious are our memories and our friendships. Our time together has passed so quickly, yet it seems like an eternity has passed since we first met. Neither one of us at that time could see beyond the first week, let alone 2.5 years. But we made it. And now I extend to you all an invitation to sit back and relax and relive with us the events, memories, and humiliations that got us on this stage tonight. Nursing 100, first year, juniors, bottom of the ladder. Whichever phrase you chose to call it, they're all one and the same. And for a full year, we felt that we were getting absolutely nowhere. But we must remember that it was during our first year we learned the most important things of all. It was rough the first week, being away from home, becoming a student all over again, and having to put up with the rituals of initiation from our big brothers and sisters. Humiliation number 1. Remember? I think we had to do everything from wearing cardboard hats to feeding each other with ice cream blindfolded. We soon got over it, however, and proceeded on to long hours in class and preparing for clinical. Remember our practical exam in bed making and bed baths? We studied for those, being very careful not to leave a wrinkle. Although we were a little on the nervous side, you gotta admit it was a laugh. We made our way onto the floors of the hospital, ready in a sense, but not quite prepared for what lay ahead. For instance, everyone was terrified of IVs. You spent your entire day searching the tubing for air bubbles and continuously watching the bag to make sure it didn't run dry. Then, after weeks of practice, we finally figured out how to put on a patient's pajamas over the IV bag. Here's a cute little story. One student came back from the floor after getting information on the patient she was to care for the next day. She was mortified. All she could say was, "I got a patient tomorrow with 5 tubes coming out of him, and I don't know where they're coming from." Needless to say, she soon found out. As time passed, we became more knowledgeable and learned many nursing procedures. When someone thinks of a nurse, the first thing that enters his mind is needles. Nurses and needles go together. Well, it was time for our first injection. Oranges were no longer safe. Every time an orange came into view, it was punctured to death. but we had to be perfect. Our time was taken up with care plans, independent study guides, and the word study took on a whole new meaning. It was hard, but we did our best. Nursing 200, second year, halfway up the ladder. What a feeling. We weren't last anymore. We were finally getting somewhere. As well as a change in the color of the band on our uniforms, there also came a change in the amount of responsibility we had. We felt we could handle anything. That feeling soon faded. Reality struck. Doomsday was in second year. Mrs. Farrell's procedure day. Study took on a new meaning in first year. Anxiety took on a new meaning in second year. Although we all had acute anxiety attacks just before procedure day, we shall never forget the words Mrs. Farrell drilled in our heads. Be prepared. In the midst of our second year, we were into fundraising for our graduation, a graduation that still could not be foreseen. But we did have some good old times in the process. Remember our school dances? Say no more. Bottle drives, bake sales, car washes, and our greatest venture, selling carnival buttons. Although we didn't always agree on things, our class spirit was together when it came to helping others, as with Shinorama and providing financial aid to a little girl who so desperately needed it. Classwork continued, as did care plans, independent study guides, and comps. Remember the feeling we had when we wrote our final comprehensive in second year? I don't think any of us realized how close we had become over the past 2 years, but it certainly hit home when we all made it. Nursing 300, third year, top of the ladder. Only 6 months left to go, yet graduation still didn't seem any closer. Although we now have had 2 years of experience on the floor, those little humiliations kept popping up. This one student took it upon herself to pick up the phone, dial the emergency number of the hospital, number 222, and kindly ask for linen savers. But don't worry, you weren't alone. The lab hasn't gotten over this one yet. It seems a nursing student, for some reason, had sent down to the lab a specimen bottle with Bridine in it to be tested for CNS. Well, we all make mistakes. Third year also brings the memory of studying together for the RNs, in which the comfort of the lounges in Monahan Hall were utilized by everyone. The RNs also marked the last time that we would be studying together as a class. I would like to take this time now to extend a thank you to our first, second, and third year instructors who have given us both guidance and support, 2 of which brightened our second year with their humorous antics. First of all, Mrs. Nugent. Everyone remembers the lecture on manic depression. Well, Mrs. Nugent had to make sure we did not forget the characteristics of the disorder, so she came bursting into class, acting as a manic depressive patient. Or was she? She sort of left the same way she came in with no explanation. Second of all, Mrs. Wells. Thanks to her, we all know now how to spell fundus incorrectly. And Mrs. Wells also invented her own Murphy's Law. Her law states, when Palmolive dish detergent is used in an experiment as opposed to Sunlight dish detergent, the probability of the experiment being a success is nil. We know you tried your best, Mrs. Wells. In every large group of people, there has to be a leader as such. In our class, it was class president. I would like to now thank our 2 class presidents, First, Mr. James Curran, who gracefully resigned his position after being class president for a year and a half. Secondly, Miss Gail Roberts, who became class president following. Thank you both. For 2.5 years, we have gone through both physical and mental stress, time and time again. But we made it, not entirely on our own, however. Husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, and relatives all gave their support and love. Whenever we needed them or needed someone to lean on, they were there. For those with families, it was particularly hard. Between studying, clinical, and raising a family, there had to be times of sacrifices and disappointments. But love, support, and understanding saw you through. For most of us, however, there are two people who we owe so very much: our dad and our mom. Daddy for Aunt. How often did they answer the telephone and hear that familiar question, "Collect call, do you accept?" How often did we receive care packages and letters from home? After a tough exam or a bad day on the floor, or when we just felt like quitting, a simple little telephone call seemed to make everything okay again, because these two people would always know what to say. "It's all right. You'll do okay. We know you can do it." Or very simply sometimes 3 little words, "We love you." Our parents, they gave so much, asking of us only to be happy. Tonight, I think it only fitting to say in return, we love you and thank you with all our hearts. As we look at you now, we can see the pride and joy beaming in your eyes as you witness your daughter or son become what they have always dreamed, a graduate nurse. To our undergraduates, second-year students, thank you for sharing this special night with us. It was only 1 year ago that we were sitting down there and saying to ourselves, the day will never come. But it did. So hang in there. Take one day at a time, and you'll do okay. Remember, you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. In closing, I would like to recite a poem to my fellow graduates as a word of advice, entitled simply, "If for Nurses." If you can bring a special understanding to all of those entrusted to your care, and meet their needs no matter how demanding, with patience and with energy to spare, if you can lend each task your full devotion, and always try to listen and to cheer, if you can learn to understand emotion and comfort others just by being near, if you look forward with anticipation to meeting special challenges each day, if you can keep your faith and dedication whenever disappointment comes your way, if you take pride in giving your profession the finest skills and talents you possess, then all your dreams and goals will find expression, and as a nurse, you'll be a great success. On September the 11th, 1983, we said our first hellos to one another. And tonight, March 7, 1986, we will say our last goodbyes. But each keeping in mind that special bond between us all, that bond of friendship, which we will cherish for the rest of our lives. We are surely on the edge of our dream. Now let's all walk together in our hearts and in our souls and take that final step. Good luck, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Head. It's been traditional over the years for the graduates to pass along some information or advice to the junior class, and they do this through the media of song. So I now call upon the graduates to sing their song to the juniors. It's called "Go Gently Through the Years." Thank you. This concludes the formal part of the program. Before we go, I would like to thank the people providing the music for tonight's program. We have organist Mrs. Beverly Neal, and trumpeter Dean Seener.
Sound good, listen. All the graduates only. There are some ground rules, folks. We'd like you all to remain seated. That's all for the graduates. We'd like you all to remain seated for the Grand March. I know the urge is to get up and applaud, that sort of thing, but please remain seated. song, which is The Edge of a Dream.
If tomorrow never comes, would you still belong to you? Guess I've always known it was meant to be. Took a second chance on love, and it carries you. Now it's getting stronger day by day. The closer it gets, the further it seems. Always one step out of reach, on the edge of a dream. On the edge of a dream. But there's a way tomorrow never come, would you still belong to me? Guess I've always known it was meant to be. Took a second chance on love, and it carries you. Now it's getting stronger, little by day. The closer it gets, the further it seems. There's always one step out of reach, on the edge of a dream. On the edge of a dream. But there's a way for this chance to be for real. On the edge of a dream. And if nothing ever changes, would you feel the same way too? You know I'll always be there for you. 'Cause the saying strong survive.